An 80-game suspension, kind of out of nowhere. And that just hits you like a ton of bricks here in a season where the A's are contending, and you just thought they made some additions, and they were better positioned than they were earlier in this season, and kind of going through a rough patch in June and July. And then all of a sudden, like I said, 80 games. That's heavy. And let me just say it like this. The 80-game suspension, it's kind of like a 3-season penalty, because he's going to miss games in this regular season. He's going to miss playoff games of this season. Those are 2 separate seasons. And then he's going to miss some to start next season. I'm never saying there's a good time for 80 games. But what I am saying is that, this is going to carry over and cost the A's through three different important periods, right? You wanted him for this final push. You needed him. You need him for the playoffs. And of course, you'd really like him to start next season the right way, but it's just not going to be the case. And it's been a frustrating year for 22 already. Started off red hot, was a shoo-in for the All-Star game. We talked about that a lot. Then he got hurt, missed about a month. And quite honestly, just never was able to regain the form of where he was at. Now, I don't know physically what's going on, how much he just realized he had to muscle through it. Maybe there are some more procedures necessary to get 100% healthy, or maybe he just needs a full off season to do it. And maybe he's been fighting through this. But in terms of the positive test for performance-enhancing drugs, there's 2 main things I want to say. The first is kind of a disclaimer that goes for any athlete. And I think in this day and age, it's unfortunate to know that some players are using a ton of product to better themselves. Now, when you say use PEDs, too often the analogy is tied to, he's trying to hit home runs. He's trying to get stronger. In reality, players are using PEDs to get themselves through the course of a big league season. Their bodies break down. But I digress. Some players are using it to its full potential. In this case, and what it sounds like to me, was a trace amount of something that is banned. Don't get me wrong. We're not trying to skirt the system here. But I'm saying that you would hope there are certain protections, and I don't know the whole deal with the MLBPA and how this works and how many times they're tested and what defines a trace amount versus actual substance, but if it shows up on a test, that's it. You're done. There's no going back to it. There's no second guessing it from what I understand. But also they can test and see how much was in somebody's system. And so if it is a complete accident, if it is residue, hypothetically, like for example, have you ever gone through airport security and they need to wipe your hands down and run that through the explosives test, and you're like, I haven't touched a gunpowder, fireworks, I haven't touched anything explosive, but they sense something on you that they just need to wipe down and swab down. And sometimes, you might get swabbed down and it goes through the sensor and it's like, ding, 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 we need to check you more. And you are completely innocent, but there is a trace of something on there. All I'm saying with all of this, and I don't know the exact specifics. I'm pretty sure they do not make that readily available. How much, how many tests, they don't want to get too far in the weeds on that with the public. All I'm saying is that I hope there are some safety measures in place for professional athletes across all sports where if that buzzer goes off and you look at it and you say, well, it wasn't this whole sheet of paper, it was literally that much that I just ripped off. There has to be some distinction there. Now, in all fairness, I am a person who believes there have to be rules like this, and they have to be black and white. They have to be hard-edged. And if this were a Houston Astros player or anybody else, I think you'd all hold them to the same standard. And that brings me to kind of a next point. It's hard to, it's a responsibility to know everything you're taking in your body, but it's also very difficult. And this is not a person who's typically probably cooking for himself all the time. You're eating food from different places, different sources, taking things that you thought that are supposed to be A-okay. Maybe there's a trace of something that's not in there or was contaminated in the making of it. I don't want to go too far down any of these roads because you just don't know. You absolutely don't know. But I ultimately want to leave it with this on Ramon, how disappointed he is for the situation, for himself. This statement here yesterday: I would never knowingly ingest any banned substance and put the game I've loved all my life at risk. When I found out that I tested positive for nandrolone, I was shocked. I take great care of my body and have an extremely regimented diet. I can speak for that. And by the way, I love the way that this statement reads because it's like literally word for word Ramon. Based on the minuscule amount that was briefly in my body, I've learned that it is likely that it was a contamination of something I ingested. Again, this is the way it is. This is unfortunate. I'm just saying I hope that there are some protections in place for players like this. I have been educated about PEDs through the RBI program and Baseball Factory while growing up. I know I don't need any of that to perform on the baseball field. It's a great message to send. All my athletic success has come from my hard work, focus, and dedication to the game. I would wholeheartedly agree with that. I've seen it firsthand. I've literally seen it firsthand. I'd like to apologize for the distraction that this might cause my teammates, Billy Beane, David Forst, and the entire Oakland organization, community, and fan base. And let's be honest, of the 4 paragraphs here, I think this is what matters, and this is true, Ramon. I'm devastated. Anyone who truly knows me as a person knows how much I love the game and that I would never intentionally do something like this. So that's frustrating, you know? And like I said, what are you completely going to do? It happened. They're going to have to deal with it. You know, I know a lot of people are pointing out, whoa, A's sure are happy that they have Starling Marte now in center field. They're not shorthanded. Yeah, but again, to be honest, this is a huge difference and a huge deal in the A's season now, in their postseason, and to the start of their next season. So, I know Ramon's a fan favorite, certainly a favorite of mine. I feel terrible for all this. I feel terrible for the team, the way this happened, and like I said, quite honestly, if this was 1,000% mistake or coincidental misunderstanding, then I feel even worse.